Welcome. Welcome everyone to the Eagles and Ag kickoff dinner. Thank you. How's the volume back there, Gary? Is it good? All right, excellent.
Gotta work on the lighting.
The light is a little bright for you guys. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Anybody want any more raffle tickets?
Good evening. Remind me to not take a break with this group. Yeah, we're not going to take a break. Actually, we will in just a bit.
Raffle tickets? Any more?
Welcome again to the Eagles and Ag kickoff dinner. I'm Steve Lewis. I'm the Extension Educator for University of Nevada Cooperative Extension here in Douglas County. It's my pleasure to welcome you, and as on behalf of all of the residents, who's resident of Carson Valley? Welcome to the beautiful Carson Valley. Welcome. This, if you haven't noticed, is a celebration of agriculture. Now, how often do we reflect? How often do we think about where our food comes from, where our clothing comes from, all of the byproducts from agriculture? How often do we think about that? How often do we celebrate that? How often do we think about all of the ecosystem services that agriculture provides? There's the aesthetics, there's the floodwater attenuation, there's the, and we're all here for one of them, wildlife habitat. How often do we think about all of these things, the economic driver of agriculture, the rural character that it provides us? How often do we think about that and celebrate that? Well, that's what we're doing this weekend. We're celebrating agriculture. Thank you for helping us do that. Let's have a hand for agriculture. Now, first up is our honorary chair of this event. James Settlemeyer was served in the Assembly in the 07-09 sessions, and then in the Senate on the 2011, 2013, 2015, right now he's serving. He is a third-generation rancher in Carson Valley. He actually serves as the chairman of the local conservation district, and as you can imagine, on numerous boards. He's a busy boy all the time. And like I said, he is the honorary chair of this event, here to welcome you and to give you some welcoming words. Please welcome Senator Settlemeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. We greatly appreciate everyone being here tonight, and that's what this is all about, Eagles and agriculture, in order to explain the intermix between the two of them, because they do go together and for various reasons. This thing started out a long time ago with my father, Arnold Settlemeyer, may he rest in peace, and Dan Capper. They came up to me and my father and said, hey, we want to bring about, 100 people, and we want to bring them with individual cars and drive around the valley and have them have a big caravan and a convoy and go all over the place. Are you okay with that? My dad went, no. How about you put them on a bus and we'll come speak each bus? Oh, okay, that sounds like an idea. And that's kind of how it got started. Me and my father have always believed that it's important that we reach out to the community and we explain what goes on. And kind of in a story of that is what happened today. I just got done with the Senate Revenue Committee. Okay, what's that got to do with anything? Discussing a bill trying to create a situation where we talk about and give look at how we license plate farm machinery. So here we are trying to educate 75% of our colleagues that are from Clark County about how we drive farm machinery up and down the road. And the eyes glaze over and they're like, you do what? But it's helpful. The first time I met the minority leader of the Senate Democratic Party, Aaron Ford, I was in Carson City delivering hay to Buzzy Anderson's ranch. So I had a squeeze, which is a very large vehicle that is, to say the least, very strange looking. And I was able to bring Mr. Ford out, show him the squeeze, and start talking to him way back when about how we have to be careful what we do in the legislature, because how it affects people in very strange ways. And that's what this is about today, to show everyone else out there the importance of agriculture in Carson Valley, in the state of Nevada, and in the United States of America, and show how we try to do our best to preserve the environment, to increase wildlife habitat and species, and all we ask in return is do us a favor when you see us going down the road and wave with all 5 fingers. Because believe me, sometimes people don't, and regularly don't. But with that, thank you kindly for coming tonight. Thank you for doing your best to try to help us out. We'll do our best to help you as well. Thank you.
Okay, in keeping with this celebration, every year, most every year I should say, we recognize people, producers, individuals that have exhibited, have done extraordinary things in the way of agriculture and conservation. Tonight we've got a very special award to give, and nobody better than the founder, than the founding father of Eagles and Ag can do this any better. Please help me welcome Dan Capper.
Great to see everybody. Can anybody hear me?
No.
Am I talking in the mic? I can yell. Anyway, congratulations everybody for coming tonight. You're here to celebrate, and you have the privilege to go out on some of the most beautiful ranches in North America. Some really pretty places. And that's a rare thing. It's an extremely rare thing to be able to be a part of agriculture and to see agriculture from the ground up and see the work that people do to provide our food and give us the kind of lifestyle that we have, where there's actually open space between towns. We're not Reno or Los Angeles or a megapolis that just stretches on for miles and miles. We have distance, and we have people that are proud of their land, and you guys get a chance to go out and visit some of those lands. And some of those ranchers and farmers are here tonight. And once again, I want to applaud them. Please. Part of why Eagles in Agriculture was started, one of the real reasons why Eagles in Agriculture was started, was so that people would understand that. People would become a part of the land and say, the land has a value to us. We want there to be a floodplain out there and be active. We don't want levees and this terrible flooding situation that happens in many cities, like Reno, whenever there's big rainfall on top of snow. So the ranches in this valley have done a great job of preserving that agricultural heritage. One of the new ranches in the valley, one of the new farms, if you will, that I'm here tonight to help recognize and celebrate, is Comstock Seed, the Kleiner family, and the Kleiner Ranch. And they're here right there, just a table right here. Let's give them a round of applause. We're supposed to have 3 generations of Kleiners. Ed Sr. and his wife, Ella, Eddie, and Eric. Where's Eric?
Eric is hurrying.
Eric is a ski trainer and college student at UNR, and it's Friday night, so.
I want you to see.
We will eventually see him, yes, I'm sure, for dinner at least. Anyway, Eddie Kleiner and his family are true conservationists, and conservationists from the ground up. They talk the talk, they walk the walk. They live their conservation ethic. They are living, breathing conservationists who have purchased a farm and have set it aside solely for the production of seeds and habitat for wildlife. That's the first property for that ever to happen that I know of as a private citizen in western Nevada. And that deserves a round of applause. But they're also producing seed and Comstock Seed is a business that originally started off, if I'm not mistaken, as Seed Futures in 1984, and I was fortunate to work with Eddie way back then when I was working with the Soil Conservation Service, now the Natural Resource Conservation Service, in finding seeds to do restoration. So what Comstock Seed does is help people in the 12 western states find seeds to restore their land after fires, after floods, after droughts, to do environmental restoration, to do conservation work, to produce more beef, to produce more food, to produce more wildlife habitat. This family is a conservation family that is truly doing a service to all of us. So wherever you go in America, in the 12 western states, or Mexico or Canada, and you see a fire that's being received, or you see something coming back from a natural disaster, there's a pretty good chance that Ed Kleiner and the Kleiner family and Comstock Seed was involved in that. That's pretty cool. They collect and sell over 150 varieties of native seed, and they sell those all over the place, threatened and endangered species. Sometimes you see Eddie in people's backyards in Lake Tahoe picking little tiny endangered species that have to be reseeded in Tahoe, to working on huge fires in the west, millions of acres that burned in northern Nevada a couple of years back. The family has just done great work. Ed Kleiner Sr. Was a professor of botany at UNR and taught lots of the people in this room who are students from UNR botany and native plants and native plant conservation. Ed has taught over 100 classes to people on how to reseed and how to restore land and how to do erosion control at his own cost and his own nickel. That's pretty impressive. But he's done lots of other impressive things too. I'm just tickled to be a friend. But when I start reading this stuff off, you're not going to believe it, so bear with me. They're the first farm in Carson Valley to go completely on solar. They did their solar arrays, was it 10 kilowatt? 9 and change. Anyway, close to 10, we'll round up 10 kilowatts, so they're completely off the grid. They can actually sell electricity back to the power company if they're lucky. Which is a lucky thing. They're growing grapes, and they're going to be doing some viniculture. They have a sewer system, which is actually a wetland, which has all kinds of wildlife on it, and is processing their gray water, if you will, but at the same time producing habitat and forage for wildlife and livestock. They've built wetlands. Ed restores barns and collects stuff, and has restored his own barns and the dairy where he lives and the dairy that he purchased. He's also collected barnwood from all kinds of barns that have collapsed and fallen apart in the valley, and he's using those now to build a beautiful platinum solar house that will probably be off the grid in its own right, and it's built out of old woods and old materials from over 100 years ago forward in Carson Valley that were old barns that were just going to be turned into firewood when they blew down and when people were tearing them down. So he's done some incredible restoration work. He has all kinds of birds. Over 100 species of wildlife use their farm during the year, which includes a lot of different species of birds and raptors and mammals and everything you can think of, from a partridge in a pear tree. He has endangered tortoises on the property. Right now they're hibernating, but if you are fortunate to go out there in the next couple of days, he may show you the tortoise pens, and they go underground and hibernate, and this year they may come out early, huh? Is it like like a groundhog? Is it showing itself? Are we through with winter already? Who knows? Anyway, Ed is also what I consider to be a connoisseur of idle apparatus. Are any of you women married to men like this? That means he collects junk. He has all kinds of stuff. But one of the things that he collects and that he has, it's personally mine, but it's on his property, is a 60-year-old outhouse. And so it's not just junk that he collects, he also collects other kinds of it's called Mount Rosie.
From Mount Rose in Reno.
Yeah, it's from Mount Rose, and it was a vintage outhouse that I got from Milky Way Farms, from Full Circle Compost, from Milky Way Farms. And Ed has restored that outhouse and done all kinds of elaborate fixes to it. His face used to be on the inside of the toilet seat when I first delivered it to him, but now that's been removed, and there are other people's faces around the inside of the outhouse. Yes, I'm not giving it back. We had the first ever locavore feed in modern times. A lot of the farmers like Fred Stodick here and others in the valley grew up with locavore feeds where you were eating local food year round. But we had one, the first modern one at Eddie's farm, of all locally raised beef and vegetables and fruits and beer and all the good stuff that people could make locally and grow locally and farm locally. Ed is also a Scoutmaster, and shortly we'll have his 6th Eagle Scout get his Eagle Award, speaking of Eagles in Agriculture. And one of his sons, Evan, is also an Eagle Scout. They're just amazing stewards of their land. It's a beautiful place, and those of you that go out there, you'll be fortunate to see it and learn about his agricultural practices, his cultural practices, and the great things that he's doing to conserve the land there. He's a member of the Society for Environmental Restoration. He's a master Toastmaster, and he's one of the greenest businesses in Carson Valley. So, without further gilding the lily, or any other plant that Ed may have replanted or reseeded, it's my honor and privilege to present Ed Kleiner and the entire Kleiner family with the Conservationist of the Year Award from Eagles in Agriculture for outstanding stewardship and leadership. Please join me in recognizing the family. I would invite your dad and family up here, but we will not do that unless you'd like to come up. Senior Ed, would you like to come up for this award? And if there was a third generation, if there wasn't a college kid, of course, not 30.
Thank you, Dan of many words. Are there any questions? 2 weeks ago, I was at South Pass, Wyoming, a very historical place, driving with my wife in my Dodge pickup, and the phone rang. I got off the phone and looked at Linda, who is in Atlanta, Georgia today, could be here, and said, Caffer and Lewis want to give me the Conservationist of the Year Award in Gardnerville. And she says, don't you mean the Conversationist Award of the Year? And I thought about it because we've been sitting in the same office together for 30 years. She's been listening to me babble on the phone for 30 years. And so, yeah, she's sort of right, but it sounded funny at the moment. But now, let's up the ante one, because I drew the short straw for tomorrow for a Alprow bus with 3 of your tables out here, and I'm going to be on the road for 3 hours. Within a few years, Mr. Lewis, there's going to have to be a new award, and I think it's going to have to be the Conversationalist Award, or something to that effect. But conservation, that's a whole other story. I won't belittle too long here, but in this valley, the biggies are obviously soil and water conservation, and our big windstorms recently showed us that there's a lot of soil blowing, and it's going elsewhere, and that there's lots of work to be done. Water conservation, where do you even start? I'm a leader of a ditch company. He has a ditch company. We'll get 3 or 4 waterings this year, and we're done. How do you keep agriculture alive with water for only 2 months at most? On the other hand, there's a few other forms of conservation I want to mention briefly. One being historic. Yes, we are preserving some barns in the valley, but when we came here to buy our property, those buildings as a real estate value had no value. They were a liability to be torn down. The ag land around them with just pasture was worth as much as my barns. We were only so fortunate to get preserve them and use them. But other than that, the market would have destroyed them. So historic preservation is important. It's the fabric of what we do in this valley. The last form of conservation I really want to mention is open space. The conservation of ag open space in this valley, everybody is in agreement that what is beautiful here is grasslands. And so we're trying to preserve them. But if you can divvy up the valley into 19-acre parcels, which is pretty big for anybody that lives in a big city somewhere, but 19 acres of ag land with a fence around it, what happens? You have problems with moving water, with managing weeds, with mitigating fires and floods. And so we have to deal with this at the ag-urban interface. There is so much to do with conservation. I will close with one little note. I don't think conservation has an end game. To me, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. I think we all need to adopt more. Thank you.